Now, I'm going to call it a random team. And the whole idea here is that each team, they're saying, has a clear greatest player in that franchise history.
Like the face of franchise history. Not of the team, not this year, of all time.
Teams with more obvious championships and dynasties and legacies. It's going to be tougher. There are some teams where you're like, oh, it's obvious. Shall I throw out a random one?
Sure. Let's see, and we'll all see if we agree, right?
I'll start with some obvious ones.
Yeah.
Let me look around here. If I said the Orioles.
Ooh, I think that's easy.
Yeah.
Brooks Robinson.
Oh, I was going to say Cal Ripken.
Cal Ripken Jr.
I was going to go Cal as well.
Brooks Robinson, great, but Cal Ripken Jr.
Yeah, he's got to be.
Face of the franchise.
Face of the franchise. Rookie year, 82, World Series champ, forever, Iron Man. You know, I could see that.
Now,
I was thinking, you know what? There I go glorifying the past. Look, Cal Ripken hasn't played in a long-ass time, but here I am glorifying just because he's older. But Cal Ripken's the guy. Yeah, you're right.
Like Dan Byers' team, I think is an obvious one. The Brewers.
Yes. Robin Yount.
I think that's a no-brainer.
You know, here's something I didn't know about Robin Yount. That he holds the record for the youngest to play in the bigs ever. He was 18 years old. Because I always think Griffey.
Youngest starter on opening day.
He went to high school just off the street.
That's
just up
crazy
Ventura.
to me.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, we just grew up with the kid. I thought Ken Griffey was the guy to start at the youngest. It's Robin Yount.
Look at you dropping fun facts.
Yeah. I mean, didn't we all have a Robin Yount autographed mitt growing up?
I had the Ozzie Smith, but I know, to me, if you grew up in the 80s or 90s, your Rawlings or whatever you had was either Ozzie or Robin Yount.
Robin Yount signature series sort of mitt in your Little League days.
I think I had the worst bat autograph ever.
Would you have Mackie Sasser? Mike Gallego?
Would you have Steve Balboni?
Chris Spire. Remember
Really?
Chris
Chris
Spire?
Spire?
Yeah, wow.
The Spire bat?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Sorry,
Haven't heard
Chris
that
Spire.
name forever.
Yes.
I think the challenge was, could you be better than him with his bat?
Yeah, that's funny, man. All right, so, okay. Orioles,
Obvious
Cal
ones.
Ripken.
The Padres.
Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn.
Gwynn.
I'm just getting you the obvious ones out of the way. If I were to say, let's see, obvious. Angels.
Oh.
Angels.
Mike Trout.
Oh, wow.
Trout,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking of Nolan Ryan, but
Yeah, so did I.
he was
Danny
the
G.
face of a lot of different teams.
Yeah, and I think that's other different players as well that you would think that maybe had stops with the Angels. Vlad Guerrero, you're like, oh, okay, but still, Expos,
Yeah, because he's still an angel.
Yep.
You know?
The
And
Kansas
I guess,
City Royals.
Oh, George Brett.
George
easy.
Brett. Yeah, this is obvious one.
I think to qualify as the all-time franchise face, you'd have to play the majority of your years on that team, too, yeah.
Now we're going to get tricky.
Go ahead. If not all your years.
It's tricky. Let's get tricky. Run DMC style. Boston Red Sox.
Ted Williams.
Oh, you're going Ted Williams. Like you're not trying. The franchise that won a lot of World Series in the 2000s. Big Papi.
Yeah, but he was a twin as well, though.
Yeah.
Is he really the
I don't
the
think
Red
of him
Sox?
as a twin, though.
No.
Is it? Okay, then is it?
I honestly feel embarrassed that we're comparing Ortiz with Ted Williams for how legendary Ted Williams
Yeah,
is.
he's the greatest hitter of all time, arguably. I'm just saying, like.
I get it. No, I get it. Current championships, I totally understand.
You can't say Clemens because he won Cy Youngs with the Blue Jays, Yankees. So it's got to be him. It's got to be Williams. Who is it? According to this
list, you guys are right. It's Ted Williams.
All right. Okay.
Now, if I were to say the Minnesota Twins.
Easy. Kirby Puckett.
I thought Kirby Puckett.
What?
Oh, it must be
Harmon Killebrew.
Rod Carew.
Hall of Famer Rod
Good
Rod
one.
Carew.
Yeah.
We got to ask our boss, Scott, because he's a big Twins fan. I wonder if he would say the face of the franchise is Rod Carew.
I was answering. I was with you guys. I would say Puckett, but when you said it wasn't Puckett, I thought it would have been Killebrew.
Yeah, but
Puckett won a World Series in 87 and 91.
Yeah.
So,
I would have thought Kirby Puckett, man.
Got more hits than Rod Carew.
Yeah.
Get shouted out. Covino, you might say an obvious one, but you're New York Yankees.
There's so many, but there's a number one answer on the board. It's got to be Babe Ruth.
Yeah, Babe.
Yeah.
The Babe. I mean, he's the face of baseball.
Who would number 2 be? Would
all-time
number 2 be
baseball.
Would Mickey Mantle be number 2? Or would you say someone else? DiMaggio?
Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle.
Derek Jeter?
I personally would go with Don Mattingly, but the Hitman. I love how you laughed at that.
That's a good because it was a funny one.
I know. That's just personal. No, but yeah, I'd say it's Babe Ruth and then probably Mickey Mantle just because of the legend and the legacy.
Chicago Cubbies.
Ernie Banks.
Yep, Ernie.
Mr. Cub.
Yeah, when you're Mr. Cub.
When you're Mr. Cub,
Yeah.
yeah. I just think some of these are more obvious than others. But it's a great. I think this is interesting because
Who
each
else?
team.
Okay, if it's clearly Ernie Banks, and
Yeah.
it is, I mean, that's obviously what I was going to say as well, but would Andre Dawson be up there too?
Ryan Sandberg.
Or Ryan Sandberg? Or
What
Mark
about a guy-
Grace?
What about a guy that won him a World Series in 2016? Don't be a prisoner of the past. I'm not saying Rizzo, but you know, there were guys on that team that delivered.
Yeah, but they didn't play as long with the team as some of these guys did. Like I said, Mark Grace played forever. Ryan Sandberg played forever for the Cubs. I get that. These dudes that won with the Cubs, they weren't with the Cubs that long.
Can I ask about a team?
Yeah.
Because I'm curious.
I would love it. That's part of the fun.
What about the Braves?
All right, I'm not even going to look first. 'Cause
Okay.
Easy,
Braves?
I got it. It's got to be Hammer and Hank Aaron.
I agree that's what I think it's going to be.
I was going to say Bob Horner.
I mean, if you were talking in the 80s on the TBS days, it's got to be Dale Murphy.
Yes.
Dale Murphy
Sure.
in the powder
Yeah.
blue.
Growing up, we
Yeah.
grew up in New York, and we would watch TBS, the Superstation. They would advertise Dale Murphy constantly.
I remember-
We got the same thing out here on the West
Yeah,
Coast.
Dale Murphy. When I got a Dale Murphy baseball card, I didn't think a starting lineup figure. Like Dale Murphy's the man.
And by the way, if you think along the lines that we do way back on a Wednesday, if you had video games on Nintendo, like Dale Murphy, he had like 44 home runs.
Yeah.
You know, he was hitting bombs.
The reason I ask is because started his career with the Milwaukee Braves.
Yeah.
Ended his
Right.
career with Milwaukee Brewers. But so there's a back end, but obviously hit 715 with Atlanta, majority of his career with it, understand. But also I wondered if Chipper Jones.
Larry Jones.
Larry. Yeah, he was.
Larry.
Listen,
You talk about their
Maddox.
heyday. I mean, Maddox came over from the Cubs.
True, yeah,
You had
he's
your
a
other
Cub.
pitching staff, but
Glavine
Chipper
went on
Jones
to the
was
Mets, yeah.
So
So you
there's
say, yeah, Chipper Jones or Hank Aaron. And by the way, who did this list again?
it's just the list I saw online.
Isn't it? It wasn't MLB. I thought it was.
Actually, it's FanDuel.
Oh, okay, so according to FanDuel, is it Hank Aaron?
All right. I feel like this is an obvious one, but maybe not to you. My New York Mets.
Well, who's the Braves?
Hank Aaron.
Oh, what?
Yeah, Hank Aaron.
Oh, you didn't make
Yeah.
it clear.
Oh yeah.
Okay, the Mets. Wow.
Boy, Tom Seaver? Or,
Yeah.
Was it Tom
it's
Seaver?
a boring one for
I was
any.
thinking of statues.
It's a boring one for any younger Mets fan. Not that I'm young, but like, if you didn't see Tom Seaver play in the '60s, like, Mets fans are living off of like Darryl and Keith and all the '80s Mets, Gary Carter. But yeah, the answer is Tom Seaver.
It's got to be Tom Seaver. Yeah.
A's, is that obvious?
Let me think about it. If it's not Carney Lansford, then I'm going home.
Raleigh Fingers.
It's got to
Oakland A's.
be Oakland A's. Let's see. Man, they've had some great players throughout history. Ricky Henderson.
Ricky.
Oh, yeah.
The
He
Ricky.
played for him several different times in his
Yeah.
career.
Danny G, what about your Los Dodgers?
Reggie Jackson could have been a good answer for the A's, too, though.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Well, you got Don Drysdale, Kirk Gibson, but probably Sandy Koufax.
They put Sandy Koufax as the face
good
of the
choice.
team.
Yes.
Then there's teams that don't have much history, but they're still good players. Like if I said the Washington Nationals,
Ryan Zimmerman.
Max Scherzer, they put
Oh,
on.
I agree with DB on that one. Hey, by the way, what was the one that Mike, who runs this place, said he completely disagreed with?
I disagree with everything.
Yeah, because I walked in on them chatting about it before, and Mike said he completely disagreed with several of them, but
Oh.
one in particular.
Pittsburgh Pirates is the one he hated.
Oh, Roberto Clemente.
That's what he said.
What?
Oh, don't tell me they have
You can tell me
bonds.
it's like Andy Van Slyke or something.
Sid Bream. No,
What? It's not Clemente?
Honus Wagner.
Yeah, I wondered if it
wow.
would have been. Yes.
That's weak.
It's got Clemente made so he
Yeah,
meant
for
so much.
face of the franchise, you think Clemente.
That's Clemente all the way. That I agree with Mike. I agree with Mike there.
I thought you would.
Who?
Yeah, Mike runs this place.
Here's one he also disagreed with. This list is BS.
By the way, this is a list from FanDuel. It's the all-time face of each franchise. If you agree or disagree, you want to throw some out there that you want to debate with, by all means, 877-99 on Fox at Covino and Rich.
I don't necessarily disagree with this one, but Mike did. The World Series champions, Texas Rangers.
Man, the all-time Rangers got to be, I'm thinking Nolan Ryan.
That's what he said.
Okay, hold on.
Pudge Rodriguez.
Oh, that's
Pudge?
it. You nailed
Pudge.
it.
Yeah,
Pudge
okay.
was the answer,
I
but
agree.
Mike's like, Nolan Ryan's not on this list. He was all mad.
Yeah, but he was an Astro. He was an
Yeah.
Angel. He was a Met. He was all over the place. Pudge Rodriguez, I mean, he played for other teams too, but he was such
of
a
Pudge.
Ranger.
Yeah, when I think Rangers, I think
Yeah.
Pudge.
You know
Now-
who else I think of? Juan Gonzalez.
I think of Juan Gonzalez too. Gonzo, there was a few years that,
Yeah.
during the
About
steroid
Rafael
era.
Palmeiro too, man.
Yeah, that guy
Him
was.
and the Orioles, though. That's where I,
Yeah.
have the little mixed company.
Palmeiro,
Yeah.
that guy was always up for the occasion.
Yeah, he was.
A team with not a lot of history. Playoffs, they seem to, every couple of years, they poke into the playoffs with a low salary cap team, the Tampa Bay Rays. This might be the least impressive name on this list.
I got one. I got one.
No face
I
comes
have
to
one
mind.
as
I
well.
do. I got one. Is Evan Longoria.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Evan
Really?
Longoria. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a solid player.
Yeah,
man.
he's a great player, but again, they don't really, that's the face of that franchise.
And he played, I mean, a good 15 years with them, I'd say.
First World Series.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me hit you up with Philadelphia, the Phillies.
Oh, that's easy.
Mike Schmidt.
Schmitty.
yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's anyone else that would compete there.
Daddy
How about
Longlegs.
Pete Rose would be a Red? Is Pete,
Pete
Rose,
Rose
even on this?
is Mr. Red.
I think Chase
Mr.
Utley
Red.
and Jimmy Rollins, I think, currently, if you wanted to.
Yeah, it's hard to compare generations, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy, but the people that are like, who would win, Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson in their prime? You are comparing different generations. It is tricky to compare someone that played in the 2000s to compare Honus Wagner back in the day to Roberto Clemente to Barry Bonds to Bobby Bonilla.
But
Like,
you're
how do you?
basically saying who is
Schmidt is the 100% correct
Yes,
answer.
agreed.
who
He
is
is
the
absolutely-
great? If you were going to answer who was the greatest Philly, it's got to be Mike Schmidt. It's got to be.
Yeah,
And the best mustache of all time.
Yeah.
I think I cried. He was, and back then he was man enough to cry at his Hall of Fame speech.
That's one of the
and
first times I remember seeing that as a kid.
Like a
'cause
grown man?
It didn't make sense to me as a kid. I'll never forget that. And, you fast forward, you're right, Rich. First guy, maybe man enough to say, it hit him emotionally to that level on a big stage to say goodbye to the game.
Let me give you one more for now.
Go ahead.
Again, this might be obvious to you. San Francisco Giants.
Spons?
Yeah, they're not playing they're not keeping people off this because of steroids. So, I mean, at one
Sure.
time he was the most feared hitter of all time.
How about Will the Throw Clark?
I thought you were going to say,
Bonds was responsible for getting them a new ballpark.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
I thought you
got to
were-
be.
I thought you were going to say Jeff Kent's mustache.
No, it has to be Bonds.
We should make an all mustache
Oh,
team.
wait
one
a
day.
second.
I did love Sergio Romo.
What about Willie Mays?
Sergio.
Willie
I-
Mays.
How about
Yeah.
Chili Davis?
Chili Davis.
But in San Francisco, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they had
the
people,
Giants
they had people
franchise,
in
Willie Mays, obviously, but
the franchise. Yeah, but then they also did have people in canoes and kayaks trying to get Barry Bonds home run balls. Every at bat was like must watch.
Well, remember, lists are made to be discussed and made to be debated. So I could see you debating Willie Mays as the guy.
Bonds' time with the Pirates, I think, does play a role into it. Yeah, maybe I would go Mays. Now that I think about it,
I'll give you one. Well, I'll give you one more, and then
For
we'll break.
Cleveland, I'm going Willie Mays Hayes.
Oh no, I'm going Jake Taylor for Cleveland. Maybe Wild Thing Rick Vaughn. I don't know.
Bob Uecker.
Harris, the guy that had the
Yeah.
Vaseline on his chest. Cleveland. And with that one, Cleveland. They go old timer
Bob
on
Feller?
this. Bob Feller, yeah. But I mean, that's the answer. That's your answer right
I was
there.
going to go Corey Snyder. Remember that guy? Remember that? Did you have his rookie
You love
back in the
Corey
80s?
Snyder.
Anyway, all right, so we'll get your a lot of people chiming in on that. It's fun. It gets you fired up for baseball. It's debatable, but hey, I don't disagree with too many of those. Only a few of them.
Well, you guys could shout out your team. We'll discuss, or you could throw your 2 cents in at Covino and Rich or 877-99 on Fox. Sort of gave the face of each Major League Baseball franchise. Who is the GOAT of each team for the history of the franchise? Before the break, Dan Byer goes, who do they got for the Blue Jays? And I was like, I'm not going to look. because that's the one we'll do next. Blue Jays. Now, Joe Carter hits arguably the coolest home run of baseball of all time. Walk off, win the World Series, touch 'em all, Joe. Alomar, John Olerud, those guys just played there for a minute. Who's the face of the Toronto Blue Jays? What do you think, Covino?
You go back.
Jimmy Key, Tom Henke.
Yeah, those good names. I go back in the way back. George Bell, Dave
George
Steed.
Bell's a good one. Yeah. Wow. Man, I think
Lloyd
I think
Mosby.
Carter. Maybe Carter.
I think there's
an
Roy
answer.
Halladay, the late Roy Halladay, current day, but again, he went on to great success with the Phillies.
Yo, as Rocky Balboa would say, ding, ding.
Really?
Roy Halladay.
Wow.
They put down Halladay.
Nice.
I mean, there was a time
Can't
where
argue that.
he was
Yeah.
untouchable for a while.
No,
Yeah.
you can't argue that. It's a good debate. It's debatable, but yeah, I agree with that.
How quickly could Vlad Jr. take that title?
No doubt. There's some fun young players. I'm telling you, I'd never want to be the guy that lives in the past, but a lot of these guys are hard to replace as the face of the franchise. Because also, like Dan and you have been pointed out, a lot of these guys were lifers for a team.
Right.
So if you played 15 plus years for a team and they won and they were like 5 to 10 time All-Star, you're likely going to be the face of your team.
The all-time face of the team.
Here's a good one because they have a lot of periods of success. I said success weird. Like one of those guys that says success. Cardinals.
Oh. Yeah, I think Mark McGuire.
Pujols,
Yep.
Stan Musial.
Yogi Berra.
Stan the Man.
My instinct went to Stan or
Ozzie
Pujols.
Smith.
Pujols.
He never won.
He never won,
did he? No,
but-
he did. He won
Yeah,
one.
he did, yeah.
80s,
85.
85.
But still,
You're right.
man, when he-
No,
84.
it wasn't. Yeah, no, it was.
It's
83?
Willie McGee.
No, it was 82 against the
82.
Brewers.
That's right. They lost to the Royals in 85.
Yeah, should have won, but
Bad call.
I'll go with it's Stan Musial, isn't it?
They put down Pujols.
Did they?
wow.
I mean,
That was
arguably
my first. That was my first guess. I didn't think they'd give it to him.
arguably one of the best. All right, let's go to Michael in Virginia. What's up, bud? Just found this list. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to talk about. What's up?
Hey, I got an easy one. Frank Thomas, a big hurt for Chicago White Sox.
And you
There
would
you
be correct, sir. I used to love watching that guy because when we were kids, if you grew up around, if you're 40-ish, right, you had 300 hitters like Wade Boggs and Tony Gwynn that would
Hey,
bat
don't sleep on it.
360.
Harold Baines was that guy for a long time.
You had guys like Donnie Baseball that, flirted with this. But it wasn't until Griffey Jr., Frank Thomas, A-Rod, where guys were hitting 330, but also hitting a ton of home
Hitting
runs.
bombs, yeah.
Like it
That's
used
true.
It used to be like, well, if you were a 300 hitter like Keith Hernandez, you hit 10 home runs. But if you hit 40 home runs, you batted 220 like Dale Murphy.
Right.
Like, then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, Frank Thomas is batting 345 and he has 40 home runs?
The big hurt was nasty, man.
Yeah.
He was.
Used to practice his batting stance.
And the women
boy.
like it too.
And the ladies love it too.
Jordan in Washington State. What's up, buddy? COVINO Rich.
Hey guys, love your show.
Thanks, man.
I just got to give Danny G a shout out. He mentioned my uncle, Bob Horner, and my gosh, what a name drop. You made my day, Danny. I actually, at my mom's house, we have a Cooking with the Atlanta Braves cookbook where all the Braves wives gave their best recipes in a book. So, like, it was a total nostalgia.
Oh, the
Great
famous
name drop,
the
Danny.
famous Murphy meatloaf from Dale's wife? Oh, yes,
Yeah,
it's classic. It's
yeah,
classic.
exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Jordan.
That's
But
stupid.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you listening. Josh in Bakersfield. What's up, Josh?
Hey, I think you guys swung and missed on the Angels. For me, it's either Rod Carew or Salmon. That's the face of that franchise.
Well, Rod Carew was the answer.
Rod Carew was the answer for
For
Minnesota.
the
Oh,
Twins.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's right.
Angels, they gave Mike Trout. Now, listen, you said Salmon won a World Series, 0-2, Rally Monkey.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that alone should get someone from that 0-2 squad as the face. But Mike Trout is Mickey Mantle-esque, just with no support.
Yeah.
You guys, for anybody though, I'm sorry, Buyer, whoever grew up in Southern California, we would watch the California Angels on Channel 2, and Nolan Ryan was the face of the team.
You know
Oh,
what?
no doubt.
You know what?
I
Another
associate him with the Angels, but he Rangers, so many different teams.
so many different teams.
You know, it's a fun. It's a different list, maybe for another day. But there's a whole separate list of who is the most electric lightning in a bottle type of player for your team? Like, for instance, like the Dodgers, Fernando Valenzuela, when he came into the league. There's always a guy that
Who had the biggest mania?
like, yeah, who is the guy like that, like the
Flash
fan
in the
favorite,
pan?
like
flash in the pan, like,
made an impact, like
but impactful.
for the Mets when Doc Gooden was like 19, striking out 300 something guys, or Mike Scott when he was unhittable.
yeah,
one
like
year.
they were the face, but just not for a long period.
Yeah, just
of
like
time.
for a minute, they were like the must see. Let's go to South Dakota. Ian, you're on with Covino and Rich. What's up, bud?
All right. Love you, CNR. I got to say, you haven't brought up the Rockies.
Oh, there's an answer, and I think you got it based on this year's ballot.
Oh, on this year's? Oh, no. I mean, Dante Bichette, Larry Walker.
Well,
You got to go back to
they-
you got to go back to late 90s, don't you?
Yeah, they got Todd Helton, who is a Hall of Famer now, right?
They had that squad. He named all those guys. Remember when Vinny Castillo, Bichette, all those dudes were on the same team? Walker. They were all hitting bombs. They all had like 40-something bombs, it felt like. But yeah, it's got to be Helton.
It
Hall of
really
Famer.
helps when you play your entire career with that team.
No doubt.
You know what always bothered me, Dan Byer, about Andreas Galarraga?
Galarraga, yeah.
What bothered me about
But I think of it as an expo too, though.
what bothered me about him is that he finished his career with 399 home runs. In my mind, I'm like, sign a minor league deal with someone, get called up, hit one more, 400. It's like that Bernie Mac movie. What is it, Mr. 3000?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
come on. Like, oh.
You know, more recently, I think of Charlie Blackmon because I've been to the stadium a couple of times. He's the fan favorite there.
Yeah, honestly, that's another list. The fan favorite of all time. Let's take one more quickie, and then DB's on deck. Dave in Ohio, wrap it up, buddy.
Hey, man, I dig the show, guys.
Oh,
Love
thanks,
it.
man.
Never miss it. Hey, I got a quick one, but first, I almost turned on K-Love when I heard you say Honus Wagner over Roberto Clemente.
I know. What
I
the
mean,
hell,
that's just
right?
absurd, absolutely absurd. But have you mentioned the Montreal Expos? Let's go with a team in the past.
You know, they're not on the list, but is Gary Carter up for grabs there, or who
Big
else?
unit.
That's kind of what I was thinking, Gary Carter.
Gary Carter.
Yeah.
That's the baseball card I remember most.
Gary
about the
Carter's Expos.
Yeah.
Andre Dawson would be a candidate, but then first year at the Cubs, he goes and hits 49 and
I love the
changes
I
everything.
love the commercial where he was still stuck in the ivy.
At Wrigley, yeah. What about Seattle? Is it easy Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah,
or
I
did Ichiro got a shot?
No, Junior
Yeah,
there.
it's gotta be him.
And Detroit, Miguel Cabrera. We covered most of them, so thank you guys for hanging.